Happy Saturday. Come on in. Our day. Yes, to spend some time in the Word to find out what's on the heart of God concerning you. And, oh, I almost swallowed wrong. You and I'm excited about today, as I am every Saturday, where I get to get up and be stretched by God to share what's on His heart concerning us. What matters going into our future? What matters in our today, so that we can move forward appropriately, so that we can receive all of what God has designed for us. We don't want to leave nothing that we're supposed to have and supposed to take with us. We don't want to leave any of that behind. And oftentimes we reach back and grab hold of things that means nothing, that is going to set us back, that are not going to promote us, but permit us from doing, from being, from going all the places that God has called us to go. So I look forward to getting up on Saturdays. I know I told you some Saturdays is like, oh, I'm dragging. But once I start getting everything ready, and once I sit in this seat and say my prayer before I press record and sip my coffee, with creamer, hazelnut creamer, you know what I'm drinking. There's just something that kind of just comes over me and makes me ready. I've prepared and have gotten ready before I sat here, but it kind of instantly, it's like, okay, it's time to do this. Lord, give me what I need to say. This is, I'm your mouthpiece. This is your word. Those are your people. So let me be in tune with your word. Let me hear your voice to know what to say, so that this time, our time, can be meaningful. Not only for me getting up to do it, but meaningful in my obedience. That's the other thing. Meaningful because of my obedience, but meaningful to you that takes the time out to actually watch. So as I always like to take a minute to say thank you. If you watching this, if you hear this, then I'm thanking you. But if you've watched any of my previous Saturdays, thank you. I pray that it is encouraging. I pray that it is challenging. I pray that it is a reminder. I pray that it is informing. I pray that it's revelation. Whatever you need, God knows. I don't know. I'm just doing my part, which is obedience. Are you doing your part? Are you doing your part? No, not with Saturday. Oh yeah, with Saturday, what you hear when it's piercing, what you hear when it's for you. What do you do with what you hear that's for you? Do you take it and leave it? Or do you grab hold of it and apply what needs to be applied so that you can move forward? But outside of Saturday, are you being obedient with what God has told you to do? That is going to be very important and vital as we move forward. It's actually always important and vital. The Bible says obedience is better than sacrifice. And oftentimes we lean on sacrifice because it's comfortable. Obedience is never really a go-to for us. It's never really a favorite. It's never really a place where we just, okay, God told me to do this and I'm just gonna do it, especially when it's a stretch, especially when it's something that we're not familiar with, especially when it's something that we think or people are going to look at us like, girl or dude, what is you doing? What is you saying? How? What? Who told you that? They question. And if you're not sure to know that I heard from God and I'm confident in knowing that He has me in this thing, through this thing, and even on the other side of the thing, I'm not going to worry on the other side of this thing. I'm not going to worry about what they think, what they say, or what the enemy is even trying to get me to harbor in my heart and in my mind to cause me to pause, to cause me to stop, to cause me to divert back to where I came from. There's nothing there. There is nothing there. There's nothing back. Going back, no. The only thing you need to go back to do is to correct what you left undone. Yeah? If you're going back, let it be because I did not do what I was supposed to do. I did not say what I was supposed to say. God told me to apologize and I didn't. God told me to write this and I didn't. So if I'm going back, it's to do what God said. Not to reach back to what's familiar, what's comfortable, what worked in the past, what made me feel good, what they knew me as. Excuse me. So if you go back, let it be to complete the last thing or the last few things for some of us that God has told you to do so that you can move forward. And that's somewhat of what today's Sat Our Day is about. The things that prevents us from moving forward. We all know the promises of God. We all know at this point, for the most part, the word. We know what he has promised us. We know the declarations that we make. We know his ability, what he's able to do. We know that he's come through time and time again. So we know he's a man of his word. We know he keeps his promises. We know he cannot lie. But somehow, some way, we often hold on to the little thing. We talked about it a little bit last week, but sometimes we don't realize that the little thing can spoil the whole. The little thing that we think nobody could see, the little thing that we think is insignificant, the little thing that we think is little, oftentimes becomes magnified as we move forward. Because as we grow and as we move, if that thing is a part of us, it has to grow with us. It has to go with us. It has to move with us. And so, as we move forward, I want to make sure that we are moving forward free. I want to make sure that there is nothing that is holding us back or binding us to keep us one step forward, but one step backwards. We don't want this motion as we move forward. We want to go one step at a time, moving forward. Today's thought is, don't take broken pieces into the promise. Don't take broken pieces into the promise. We all know what it looks like to move forward and to not quite be ready to let go of that thing, whether it be a person, whether it be an actual thing. We're not ready to let go of that thing, so we hold on longer than we need to, not realizing that that thing is only going to magnify and then destroy what should have been a blessing, destroy what should have been a good thing, destroy what really was a God thing, destroy the very thing that you have been praying for, the very thing that you have been seeking God for. Now that little small thing that you were not ready to get rid of, you were not ready to let go of, you were not ready to say bye to, because you didn't see how you could move forward without it. You didn't see how you could really be who God has called you to be without them. You didn't really see how you can move over and transition into the next, into the future, into the blessing without taking bondage. And that's what it is. We don't realize that it is. We don't think that it is. We don't title and define it as bondage, but it is bondage. No matter how small it is. Think about it. If faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains, then how much can doubt the size of a mustard seed? How much can fear the size of a mustard seed? How much can that thing that is small cause the outcome of where we're going to be the reverse? It won't move mountains. It will embrace mountains. It will embrace defeat. It will embrace bondage. It will embrace fear. Don't take broken pieces into the promise. I want to start off with wounds versus scars. Wounds versus scars. We've all had a wound, whether it's when we were small, whether we've been old, as we've gotten older and big, we bumped our head, hit something, whatever it is. You know, when you're little kids, you fall and you got that one boo-boo. You know, your parents called it a boo-boo. If you were a parent, you called it, oh, you got a boo-boo. Where'd you get that boo-boo? Your boo-boo hurts? The boo-boo. Why do we call it boo-boo? Now that I'm saying it, I'm just thinking, why do we call a wound boo-boo? Somebody find out and let me know. That way I know that you listened up to this point. I may give you something. Who knows? But anyway, wounds versus scars. The definition in the dictionary for a wound is a type of injury in which skin is torn, cut, or punctured. So we've all had a natural, physical, I should say, wound somewhere on our body, whether from the crown of our heads to the soles of our feet. Somewhere we have had a wound, which is a type of injury in which skin is torn, cut, or punctured. So now, what is the difference between a wound and a scar? The dictionary definition of a scar is a mark left on the skin, marking the spot where skin has healed after the injury. I'm going to read that again. A mark left on the skin, marking the spot where skin has healed after an injury. A wound versus a scar. Oftentimes, we have wounds that we will try to speak. Our words will try to, let me say this differently, because this is physical. So we're talking about the body. Spiritually, you know, maybe last year or 2 years ago, there was the whole thing of the church hurt. People leaving church because of church hurt. How leaders are, you know, faulting leaders because of the church hurt that they have caused. What is that? It's a wound. No, it's not a physical puncture in your skin as the definition for wound, but spiritually, where are you wounded? Who said something that left you bitter? Who said something that left you holding on to offense? Not that it wasn't supposed to come, because the Bible says offenses must come. But maturity says it came. Now I'm going to do something about it. Not in a negative way. I need to check myself first. Dissect what was said to me, what was done to me. Was it appropriate? I may not have liked it, but was it appropriate? Was it fitting for where I am? Did I just not want to hear it? So I took offense because you upset me, but you was really telling the truth. But I'm not ready to get rid of this thing. I'm not ready to deal with this thing to move on. It's just little. It's a little offense. It's a little bitterness. It's a little anger. It's a little, just little. It's the size of a mustard seed. It's little. And I know faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains, but my bitterness the size of a mustard seed, and my offense, the offense that I'm holding on to, the size of a mustard seed. It's not gonna move anything. My faith the size will move mountains, but my bitterness and my fear and my offense the size of a mustard seed is not going to do anything. And that's how we trick ourselves. We believe the principles of the Bible, the principles in the words, the principles that we are taught, the principles that we stand by, when it causes us to have a good reaction or a good response, or it's leading us to where we want to be. But the small thing that we're not willing to let go of, we don't realize that same principle applies. We're just going to have a different outcome. What is the wound that you are holding on to that you want everybody to think, I'm healed? I'm okay. It don't bother me no more. I'm good. And we don't realize while I'm good and I'm okay, how that wound is being communicated, that it's not healed through your actions and through your attitude. Because when I'm healed, there's a I want to say disposition, but there is a way about me. There's a poise about me. There's a posture about me. It's not arrogant. It's not shady. It's not I'm trying to be funny. But when somebody speaks who is healed, you know they healed. There is no, wait, was that shade? Wait, what? Oh, I feel like they was like trying to come for me like, wait, what? She talking out the side of her neck. We don't say that anymore, but she talking out the side of her neck. Oh, she's talking out of two sides of her. Okay, she said this, but she's acting like this. Okay, she said that she was okay, but she's still walking around not speaking. Okay, not just the hers, the he's too. So ladies, don't think she's saying her. And okay, it's us. What is the wound that you are holding on to, the small thing that nobody could see because it's not physically on your body? For people to become aware, to acknowledge, to ask questions about that thing. What is the hidden thing? What is the silent wound that you are holding on to that is going to prevent you from flourishing in the promise that God has made you, in flourishing in the promise that God has aligned and stored up for you guys? I don't know if you realize, but I have been sensing very strongly that we are on the verge of a breakthrough. We are on the verge of an outpouring of favor and blessings like never before. I feel that for my life. I know what God has told me in my prayer time, but I'm wise enough to know that it is just not me that he's doing it for. I believe there are others that we are right one praise away. We're one step away. We're one worship away. We're one prayer away. We're one fast away from the miracles, from the promises that God has made us, from the things that you have said, he said it, but I don't see it. I believed it, but now it looks so totally different. We are in a season where it's time to possess. One of the things that the Lord told me in January, coming into January, this is the year to possess. We're not going to possess it by anything other than faith. Faith the size of a mustard seed. If I have faith the size of a mustard seed, I could possess the big thing that God has declared, the big thing that God has spoken, the big thing that God has promised. But there's no way for me to have freedom and to flourish in that thing if I'm holding on to bondage, if I'm holding on to weight, if I'm holding on to what no longer belongs. If I am embracing my past as God is trying to expose and push me and thrust me into my future. What is the wound that you are holding on to that is small, that you think is insignificant because you're harboring that feeling about that person, but you don't have to see them. So you don't have to really, no one is able to see or to hear because you're not talking about them, that you're still holding something against them. Something that they said still has a little peace in your heart, still has a little peace in your soul, that when you think about it or when you think about them or when you see them posting, you are often reminded, quickly reminded, suddenly reminded of what they did that makes you mad, and all of a sudden you can't even focus on where you're going because now the enemy has caused you to revert and divert back to what they did in the past, what they said in the past, how it made you feel when they did it back there. There's nothing to go back to. What is the wound that you are holding on to that is going to cause you to have to go back? Not to correct what God has, the last thing that he told you that you didn't do, but to cause you to go back in your feelings, in your emotions, in your mental, in your spiritual, in your physical. It's time to be healed from the wound so that you don't take broken pieces into the promise. Scars. I like to say scars is a reflection of what was, of what happened. Scars is the cover of a book that says there is a story behind this. There are chapters, there are pages behind this, the cover of what you see. The only way you get to find out what's beyond that scar, what happened, what I went through, is you have to get to know my story. But a scar says, matter of fact, let me show you the scar. Let me put my coffee down before I spill it, because I got my big cup this morning and it's full. My big cup. I got, you know what, I'm going to show you my scar. This is a scar, if you can see it. That is a scar. If you see it, you may think it's a birthmark. It's not. If you see it, you may think it's dirt. It ain't, okay? Because I wash my body every night. I wash my body every night. It's not dirt. It's actually a scar from Action Park. I went to Action Park, which is an amusement park up north. The very first ride I went on, it was like they take you to ski slopes. When you go into like a ski, I can't think of it. Well, anyway, it carted me all the way like to the top of not the top of a mountain, but the top of a mountain, let's say. Then you get in this little buggy where you have to sit down and scrouch, and you're going through this tube, and it's it's a lane pretty much. And before you get on the ride, there are pictures of people with this type of scar and worse all over their body. So they're trying to prepare you. Hey, this is what could happen if you fall off this ride. And it's not really a fall off like you drop down levels. It's because you're sitting down. I'm trying to think of like let's say a rowboat. So you're sitting like that, but your joystick that you kind of maneuver it through is you have to kind of slouch up. So I'm doing like this, and you can cut the corner so quick and so sharp that it causes you to slide out of the little boat that you in. And because of the track, it pretty much scrapes your skin. The very first ride I went on, I got to the bottom. I had it here, have it on my side, and I have it on my ankle. So I slid off of the ride onto my right-hand side, and it scarred me. I put cocoa butter on it. I had to walk through the rest of the park for the rest of the day like this. But funny enough, I wasn't the only one. There were people with it on their faces. There were people with it all over places that you could see with their bathing suit on, because Action Park is a water park, pretty much. So with their bathing suits on, there's different spots that were affected, because they too cut the corner too quick, fell out of the ride, slid in the lane or whatever, and they were scarred. So I wasn't the only one. But the only way you're going to know what happened here is if you ask me. But what you do know, whether it's this scar or this scar, I was in a fight with a boy back in New York, my school age days, and he scratched me. And that scar is still here. It's no longer a wound. It no longer impacts me. It doesn't hurt. Can't get infected. But the mark is the cover of a book with a deeper story. The only way that you're going to find out is if you ask me to know what that is. I don't walk around showing my scar because it no longer hurts. I don't even think about it. I'm just thinking about it now because I'm talking about scars. I no longer think about it. It no longer hurts. It no longer affects me. When I think about the fight I have with the little boy, it's like, okay. It's nothing that makes me go into deep, and then I go into depression, and then I go into fear, and then I go into anger, and then I go into frustration, and then I go, it doesn't take me nowhere because I'm healed. I'm healed. Let's talk about the life of Jesus. Isaiah 53:5. Says, but he was wounded. Wounded, ED means past tense. He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. And with his stripes, we are healed. He was wounded. We all know the story of the crucifixion. Wounded, pierced in his side, crown of thorns on his head, the beating, the scorching with the flagging. We all know what Jesus went through, the wounds that he had. The wounds that he carried coming down from the cross, being placed into the tomb. So we all know what he went through. We all know what happened. We all know physically, emotionally, what he had to endure, what he chose to endure. Not what he had to endure, what he chose to endure so that you and I could be free today. But then when I read over in John 20:24-27, this is what it says. But Thomas, called Twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples was telling him, we've seen the Lord. This is after his crucifixion. But he said to them, meaning Thomas, if I don't see the mark of the nails in his hands, put my finger into the mark of the nails and put my hand into his side, I will never believe. A week later, his disciples were indoors again, and Thomas was with them, even though the doors were locked. Jesus came in and stood among them and said, peace be with you. I'm gonna stop right there because I didn't even think about this when I had wrote this down and read this earlier to prepare. But peace be with you. He was at peace because his wounds had turned to scars, which he was about to turn or to expose and to show Thomas, who doubted that he was alive, who doubted that he was resurrected, that doubted that he dead. He dead. What y'all mean y'all seen him? What you mean you saw him? He's dead. I know what happened. I know where he was. I saw the wounds. Those things killed him. But a week later, his disciples were indoors, and again, when Thomas was with them, even the doors were locked. Jesus came in and stood among them and said, peace be with you. Then he said to Thomas, put your finger here and look at my hands. Look at my hands. Why look at my hands? Because the nail prints, the nails that were drove in his hand, the hole was no longer there. It was a scar. Look at my hand to see my scar. Reach out your hand and put it in my side. Don't be faithless, but believe. Look at my scars in my hands, Thomas. I'm healed. I'm healed. I'm not broken any longer. I'm not dead any longer. I'm not bleeding any longer. I'm not in the tomb any longer where you last saw me placed. I'm not there any longer. In fact, I'm here. They told you didn't believe, but I'm here. And how do you know? Because you see. You see. I said earlier, oftentimes we try to speak. Oh, I'll say this. Oftentimes we try to tell people that we are healed through our words. Things like, I'm okay, I'm good. No, I'm awesome, man. I haven't been better. But how is your wounds still shown? Because of your actions. You're saying with your mouth, look at me, as Jesus said to Thomas, look at my hands. But what Thomas seen was a scar. Oftentimes we're saying, we're good. Look at me. I'm good. I'm not offended. No, I'm not. No, I'm okay. No, it didn't bother me. But the way you're acting and your attitude tells a different story. It tells a different story. Wounds are a sign of what is. Scars are a sign of what was. And as we move forward, as we go into possess what God has promised us, as we go on to experience the fullness of what he has for us, because I believe many of us have walked in the promise, many of us have walked in favor, many of us have been blessed, but there is an outpouring that is coming. There is an outpouring that's coming. I know it. I know it. I know it. I sense it. I feel it. He has told me, and I believe by faith. By faith. I don't see it. I don't see it. Things look the same. In fact, things in some aspects seems like it's getting worse. But by faith, as I declared in January on one of my Saturday pictures, this is the year to possess. How do we possess? By faith. I believe by faith that I'm going to receive and have and walk into everything that God has promised me, everything he designed for me, everything he has for me, everything that he's spoken, everything that he has shown me, everything that I have taken time to write down over the years that I have yet to see. I believe that I am in a season where I'm about to walk into it fully, not trickles. But I mentioned the word obedience earlier. My obedience with doing my Saturdays. Obedience plays a tremendous role and part in our possession, how we possess, when we possess. Why? Because what we possess, how we possess, and when we possess has everything to do with us being obedient to what God is telling us to do when he tells us to do it. So I don't have to get months and years out and now have to go back to the thing, to be obedient to the last thing that he told me, when I should be walking already in the fullness. I should be flourishing. I should be growing. I should be upgraded. But he's just been trickling and allowing me to see enough to know I need you to go back to the thing. I need you to go back to do what I said. I need you to go back there, not to dwell there. Oh, God, forgive me. I didn't do it. No. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for that. The Lord told me you have no time to waste time. I thought about that thing like, you don't have no time to waste time. You don't have no time to waste time. Deal, feel, heal. If you are dealing with a wound, if you are dealing with rejection, or if you are dealing with doubt, if you are dealing with fear, if you are dealing with someone who walked away from you, or if you are dealing with anything emotional, I want you to hold on to these words. Deal, D-E-A-L, feel, F-E-E-L, heal, H-E-A-L. What am I saying? If you don't deal with what you feel, you will never heal. If you don't deal with what you feel, you will never heal. And if you never heal, you will take broken pieces into your promise. That's not God's will for your life. That is not God's will for my life. So I challenge you, be open about that thing. Be transparent about that thing. First with yourself. I'm not even asking you to be transparent with anybody else. First, you have to be able to admit that thing hurt me. I feel that thing. That thing took a piece of me. That thing is still bothering me. That thing is still walking with me. That thing is still on me. And no matter how much I move forward, I have to step back, go back, move backwards to deal with it, because when I see it, I remember it was the first ride and I was embarrassed the rest of the time in the park because I walked. Now this thing is dark, so you probably can't see it. But when I was wounded, it was white, the flesh. You know how you get beat to the white meat, as they used to say, I'm going to beat you to the white meat. That means I just ain't going to slice you. I'm going to beat you to all that insides, the nasty stuff, till that shows. The white meat, my flesh. So it wasn't dark like this. You know how I knew? Because everybody was walking around with the, like, you know how when it's wounded, it's like, it looks like little cottage cheese. Cottage cheese, white, all over there. There was nothing that I can do. Nothing that I could do. You had to leave it open to let the ear hit it. It wasn't like I can go to I was going to say the doctor's office, the nurse's center in the park to get bandaged up and, you know, for them to, no. We're letting you know what can possibly happen on this ride. This is what it looks like. So we're not just going to tell you, we're going to show you. The best way to show somebody that you are healed is by showing them. Or the best way to tell them is by showing them. Because often our words are only used to please the ears and the minds of those that we are speaking to. And sometimes it does because they don't have no discernment, or they may not even care. But trust and know God will always place somebody around us that knows the truth about where we are, what we're standing in, what we're going through. They may never say anything. Sometimes God just has people to see what it is that we're going through. I just want you to pray. I don't even want you to say nothing to them. I just want you to pray. And because they are obedient, if you are, hopefully you are, to pray without having to think that they have to say something. I need them to know I'm praying because I need them to know what I see. I need them to know that they I see them. You ain't see through. I see you, boo-boo. I hear you saying that you good, but you ain't good. Did God tell you to say that? Or did he just tell you, I just need you to pray? I just need you to pray. I just need you to pray. I just need you to pray. To pray. Guys, we're moving forward. I'm moving forward. We're moving forward. Let's not take broken pieces into the promise. Because what it's going to do is set us back. What it's going to do is cause us to be demoted. Not because that's what God designed. Not because it's what he wants. He's taking us into the promise. But now how you live, how you act, how you are obedient or disobedient, your lifestyle, how you choose to live is going to determine whether you flourish in the promise or whether you just get trickles of the promise. I want it all. I want it all. So Father, in the name of Jesus, I pray right now for those that are watching, Lord, for any place that they have been wounded, any place that they have been carrying offense, carrying fear, carrying bitterness because of what has been done, what has been said, Lord, some years ago, some from when they were babies and they still haven't forgiven their father. They still haven't forgiven their mother. They still haven't forgiven their molester. They still haven't forgiven the people, the person, Father God, who wounded them, who caused them, Father, to have a memory of what happened, to have a memory of what didn't feel good, to have a memory of what was done to them, Lord. Some of them, it wasn't their fault. Some of them, God, they didn't ask for it. It just happened. But we serve a God who is able to take pain away, who is able to heal, who is able to deliver, who is able to restore, who is able to bring new life. And so, Father, today I speak new life. I speak healing over every broken place. I speak healing, Father, over every mental blockage, every place, Father, within us, Lord, that tries to take us to that dark place emotionally. I pray for emotional healing, that it would take place, God, that as you thrust us, as you push us, as you promote us, as you elevate us, as you take us into the promise, as you take us into that which you have spoken and declared and promised us, Lord, over the years, God, that there would be nothing, no fragmented piece that would cause us, Lord, to have to divert back to where we came from, to what you brought us out of, to what you delivered us from. I speak healing from the crown of their heads to the soles of their feet. And yes, even the little thing, God, that they think that they can praise over. They think they can pray over. They think that they can worship over. They think that they can, Lord, step over it to reach the promise, God, and be okay. I pray, Lord, that they would become aware, God, even the thing, Lord, that they may not be aware of. I pray that you would bring it back to their remembrance, not for them to sit and to soak in the pain of it, Father, but that they would deal with it, that they would become aware so that they can deal with what they're feeling, so that they can heal and be free in the promise, free in the future, free in that which you are thrusting us into, free and whole. In Jesus' name, I pray that you would send them people, that they can get that memory out of their minds and off of their chests, that they would get with someone who can help them, Lord, to break that thing down, to make sense of it. Oh God, that they would not hold even shame and guilt, that they would not hold blame even on themselves, the ones that would say, God, if I was never there, it would have never happened. If I would have never put myself in that position, it would have never happened. If I did not go, oh God, they would not have been able to do that to me. And so now they're holding guilt, personal guilt. I pray today that you would free them, that they would know that they are forgiven, even as they have asked for forgiveness, Lord, but they still choose to hold on to the shame and the guilt, Lord, personally. I pray, Lord, this morning as they pray, this evening as they pray, this night as they pray, this midnight hour, Lord, the midnight hour, the midnight, Lord, where you turn things around just as you did for Paul and Silas, God. Oh, God, we think so often that bad things happen in the midnight hour, but that is a perfect example that in the midnight hour, God, you still hear. In the midnight hour, you still cover. In the midnight hour, you're still there. You're still present. For your word says you never leave us nor forsake us. And so this morning to this evening, this night, I pray that you would be a comfort, that you would be a healer, that you would be a deliverer, that every broken piece, every broken fragment, oh God, the pieces that need to be put back together, that you would heal and put them back together. And the pieces, Lord, that need to be, Lord, destroyed, that need to be removed, that you would remove them so that we can walk forth bold, that we can walk forth healed, so that we can walk forth whole, so that we can receive everything God has for us. That's my prayer for myself. That is my prayer for you. I pray that you receive something from this Saturday. Do not take broken pieces into the promise. Until next Saturday, keep living, keep laughing, keep loving, keep breathing. Jesus loves you, and I do too. Now to get back to my big cup of coffee. And yes, I'm going to drink it all. Have a great Saturday.